That's footage from private reels of a recon unit attached to the newly formed 20th Panzer Division from the beginning of Operation Barbarossa in June of 1941. We'll see where the division was positioned as I introduce its history. Then we'll see the intentional ambiguity of the infamous Kommissarbefehl, Commissar Order, the soldiers received on June 21st. Finally, the invasion starts and we'll follow the recon unit during that first day of battle. If you like seeing this kind of primary source World War II material, this really is the best channel on YouTube. Please like the video and subscribe to the channel. You won't be disappointed. The 20th Panzer Division was one of the new motorized units that came together after the successful campaign in the West. In November of 1940, it received the 59th Infantry Regiment from the 19th Panzer Division and was expected to be ready for action on the 1st of May 1941. Its equipping, especially in regard to receiving their allotted vehicles, was far behind schedule, and many of those that did arrive were of French build and random vehicles from other German formations. On May 1st, the division only had 50% of what it was supposed to receive, and it was a colorful mixture. In spite of the deficiency, in May, the 20th moved to East Prussia, which would be their staging ground for the coming campaign against the Soviet Union. Only days before the invasion did they finally receive their full allotment of vehicles. Here we are looking at the unit's positioning on June 21st of 1941, the day before Barbarossa started. The border reconnaissance encountered a lookout tower and reported that the situation was better than expected, as the Soviets had only just begun to prepare their defenses. The planned advance routes should be easily traversed. To keep the element of surprise, advance to the border would only occur with the beginning of the invasion. On June 21st, the division received the definitive time for the attack, which was set for June 22nd at exactly 3:05 a.m. In addition, the troops received orders that were titled, "Do you know your enemy?" This was the infamous Kommissarbefehl that had been prepared by Hitler on June 6th. This is a photograph of the original Kommissarbefehl. Here, I've translated the text to English. It reads, Number 2. Political commissars as agents of the enemy troops are recognizable from their special badge, a red star with a golden woven hammer and sickle on the sleeves. They are to be separated from the prisoners of war immediately, i.e., already on the battlefield. This is necessary in order to remove from them any possibility of influencing the captured soldiers. These commissars are not to be recognized as soldiers. The protection due to prisoners of war under international law does not apply to them. When they have been separated, they are to be finished off. Number 3. Political commissars who have not made themselves guilty of any enemy action nor are suspected of such, should be left unmolested for the time being. It will only be possible after further penetration of the country to decide whether remaining functionaries may be left in place or are to be handed over to the Sonderkommandos. The aim should be for the latter to carry out the assessment. In judging the question of guilty or not guilty, the personal impression of the attitude and the bearing of the commissar should, as a matter of principle, count for more than the facts of the case which it may not be possible to prove. There's a lot to unpack in these orders, and I'm sure the soldiers talked about the meaning. Section 2 clearly states that all Soviet commissars are to be immediately separated and then executed on the battlefield. Then in Section 3, it goes on to say that if the commissars are not guilty of any enemy action, that they should not be killed, but rather handed over to a Sonderkommando unit for assessment. So should all commissars be immediately killed or not? These orders were not quickly written and issued. There was at least 2 weeks of contemplation. The vagueness was intentional. Continuing, the Sonderkommando units, or special units, were nothing more than motorized firing squads. I've never heard of an instance of the Sonderkommando units doing anything other than kill. They didn't have the authority to judge. Around midnight on June 22nd, the artillery set up its position near Budziska. Shortly after, and still under the cover of night, the bulk of divisional forces occupied the forested area along the border. Just before 3 a.m., the first sound of German bombers flying in from the west could be heard. By 6:30, the unfinished fortified defenses and anti-tank obstacles that were situated to the southwest of Calvaria were reached and taken. The city was quickly cleared of enemy, and together with the 7th Panzer Division, the units began advancing east from Calvaria along the road towards Simnas that led to the city of Olita. But with the 2 armored divisions intending to travel along the same stretch of road, without a well-timed logistical plan, a terrible traffic jam ensued that cost precious time. That the recon unit is stuck in a traffic jam and has time to film bomb craters being filled in shows just how bad the congestion was. With this map from June 22nd, we can see exactly where the divisions were faced with the worst of the traffic congestion. Finally, in the afternoon, the recon unit was able to continue on towards Olita. With the situational map from June 22nd, we can see the extent that the 20th Panzer Division has been able to advance, racing forwards with the 7th Panzer Division on its flank. We've got a number of videos up on that division, so go take a look. We'll be starting part 2 of the series covering the 20th at this point, so if you haven't yet subscribed, please do that. Thanks for watching.